Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, gather in close and listen with an open heart today. There is something profoundly moving about someone who leads with humility, someone who moves through the world without the need to call attention to themselves or their accomplishments. That kind of quiet strength doesn't come from insecurity or fear of the spotlight. It comes from a deep, seated confidence that doesn't require constant validation. When you lead with humility, you allow the focus to shift naturally toward the shared purpose or the people you are serving rather than yourself. And that is why those around you can't help but admire you, because you show them that you value something greater than your ego. And that speaks directly to the human desire to belong to something genuine and meaningful. Humility, in its most powerful form, is not about making yourself smaller or diminishing your talents. It's about recognizing that you are part of a much larger story. It's a subtle acknowledgement that everyone around you has their own contributions to make, and that greatness doesn't happen in isolation. When you embrace this perspective, you naturally encourage those around you to step up, to speak their minds, to explore their own potential. They feel safe to do so because they recognize that you don't view them as competitors for attention or status. Instead, you regard them as partners in a larger mission. That sense of inclusion and mutual respect is one of the most magnetic qualities a person can possess. And people can feel it. Even if they don't articulate it in words, they recognize when someone is genuinely putting the team, the cause, or the conversation first. They notice the small things, the way you ask questions and wait patiently for answers without cutting someone off, the way you give credit where it's due without expecting applause in return, the way you stand back to let someone else receive praise even though you played a role in making it happen. Every one of these small, almost invisible habits carries immense weight, and they add up to a reputation that is built on authenticity rather than self-promotion. That kind of authenticity feels refreshing in a world where so much energy is spent trying to look impressive. Humility also manifests in the way you handle your own mistakes. Instead of deflecting blame or making excuses, you acknowledge your missteps with honesty. That openness isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of true strength. It sends a message to everyone around you that growth matters more to you than perfection, that learning is more important than preserving an image. People admire this because they see in you a willingness to do the hard inner work that most shy away from. They recognize that you are not interested in shortcuts or appearances, and that you're dedicated to becoming better, not just looking better. When you lead with humility, you also naturally inspire loyalty. People feel they can trust you, not just with responsibilities, but with their own aspirations. They know that you're not going to use their talents for your personal gain. You want to see them thrive in their own right. That kind of generosity builds bonds that last far beyond the short term. It draws people toward you because they feel safe to bring their full selves into the conversation or the collaboration. They know that you're someone who will celebrate their successes, not feel threatened by them, and that makes them want to follow you, to support you, and to grow alongside you. And as this habit takes deeper root in your life, it shapes the way you face both praise and criticism. Compliments don't make you overinflate your sense of self, and critiques don't knock you off balance. Instead, you receive both with a sense of equilibrium that others can't help but admire. They see that you're grounded in who you are and what you value, and that's not something that wavers easily with changing tides. They come to understand that your humility is not a pose you put on for convenience. It's an enduring part of who you choose to be, and that makes you someone they look up to in every season of life. There is a quiet kind of magnetism that grows when someone genuinely listens to others, when they lean in not to prepare their next reply, but to truly understand what the other person is trying to share. Embracing curiosity is about showing up in every interaction with a sense of wonder, allowing yourself to discover the richness in every voice, every story, every thought that isn't your own. People admire this quality because they recognize how rare it is in a world that too often prizes making a point over making a connection. It's not just about gathering information. It's about appreciating the humanity that lies beneath someone's words and creating space for that humanity to surface without fear or judgment. When you practice this kind of openness, you begin to notice things that most others miss. You sense the subtle emotions that shape someone's choices, the quiet hopes they rarely speak aloud, the cautious hesitations that often hold them back. By being fully present, you honor those unspoken layers, and that kind of acknowledgement carries immense weight. It signals that you value more than just the surface-level exchange of ideas. It reveals that you care enough to wait, to explore, and to see someone as more than a role they play or an opinion they hold. That depth of attention fosters trust naturally because people feel they can show up as they are, not as they believe they ought to be. This habit of curiosity also changes the dynamic of every conversation you enter. Instead of steering it toward what you already know or the points you wish to make, you invite other perspectives into the room and give them room to breathe. You ask questions that encourage deeper reflection, and you listen to the answers without needing to judge or immediately solve. That patience demonstrates that you believe every person has something valuable to contribute, even if their views challenge your own assumptions. It's a profoundly respectful way of engaging, one that communicates you believe wisdom can come from anywhere, and that is one of the most admired traits in a person, that willingness to grow alongside others, to be changed by what they offer. Curiosity practiced in this way also shapes your relationships long after any single interaction ends. When someone knows that you've truly listened to them, they carry that experience with them as a reminder that they matter. They recognize you as someone who treats their thoughts as more than background noise, someone who leans into life with a sense of openness that elevates every exchange. That kind of connection is deep and enduring, and it often means they will want to return to you again and again because they trust that with you, they'll never be rushed or overlooked. And as you practice this habit, you begin to discover the beauty in unfamiliar ideas, even those that initially seem contrary to your own beliefs. You realize that every disagreement holds the possibility of teaching you something new if you remain curious enough to receive it. This willingness to be shaped by new information and diverse viewpoints is captivating because it shows that you're not limited by ego or fear. It reveals a rare confidence, the kind that doesn't need to dominate to feel secure. That openness is inspiring because it reminds people that they too can grow in every conversation, that their world can expand with every genuine encounter. Curiosity also becomes a lens through which you approach everyday life. Even outside of formal interactions, you begin to notice the small details that color each moment. The way someone smiles when they talk about something they love, the way their energy changes when they speak about something they've been avoiding. That heightened awareness draws people toward you because they sense you don't skim the surface. You take the time to see them fully, and that care is evident in your actions as well as your words. It becomes part of your presence, part of what people admire most about you, and it subtly influences every exchange you have with the world around you. There's a quiet power in being someone who shows up the same way, day after day, even when nobody is looking. That kind of consistency reveals a deeper commitment, one that is not driven by the need for attention or applause, but by an inner sense of integrity and purpose. When you live this way, you send a subtle but powerful message to everyone around you that you can be trusted. Trust grows from predictability, from the sense that your words will align with your actions, that your principles will hold steady even under pressure, and that you'll do what you say you'll do, whether it's celebrated or ignored. It's this unwavering steadiness that naturally earns respect and admiration, because it's so rare to encounter someone who is reliably true to their word. Being consistent doesn't mean never changing or refusing to grow. It means that your core values remain a stable foundation even as you adapt and evolve. People admire this kind of presence because it provides a sense of security in a world that often feels unpredictable. They recognize that you're not easily swayed by every passing trend or every fleeting opinion, and that speaks to an inner clarity that feels grounded and real. Even small habits like showing up on time, keeping promises, or sticking to your commitments take on a greater significance when they reflect an underlying consistency of character. Every action reinforces the understanding that you mean what you say, and that your behavior isn't conditional on convenience or mood. There is also a kind of strength that radiates from someone who is not constantly pulled off course by their surroundings. You show that you can navigate life's challenges without losing sight of who you are. When others see you moving through difficult situations with patience and resilience, they admire the steadiness you maintain. They come to appreciate that your consistency is not brittle or rigid. It is flexible enough to respond to change, but strong enough to remain grounded in its purpose. That balance between adapting and staying true is one of the most inspiring qualities you can have because it reveals a depth of character that can only be developed through self-awareness and practice, and this consistency shapes the way people relate to you in everyday life. It becomes part of their expectations, not in a limiting sense, but in a way that allows them to feel at ease. They know they can reach out to you and receive a similar kind of honesty, compassion, or insight that they've experienced before. That predictability allows people to relax into their interactions with you, because they don't have to brace themselves for surprises or wonder which version of you they'll get on a given day. They admire that you've taken the time to know yourself well enough that you can offer that kind of stability to others. Your consistency also nurtures a sense of loyalty among those who spend time around you. Because they can depend on you, they feel more inclined to invest in you, to share their thoughts, to collaborate, to support you in return. This trust becomes a cycle that strengthens every relationship you touch, creating a network of people who feel seen and valued because they never have to second guess where you stand. Even when you have to make difficult decisions or hold someone accountable, they respect you because they know you're acting in alignment with the same principles you live by every day. And as you continue to show up with this kind of consistency, it shapes your own experience of yourself as well. You gain a quiet self-assurance that cannot be easily shaken, because you see the evidence of your integrity reflected in your actions over time. That self-assurance becomes visible to others too, not as arrogance, but as a grounded, approachable confidence that feels safe to be around. It reminds people that living with integrity is possible, and that commitment to one's values is not an occasional gesture, but a continuous practice that deepens with every honest choice you make. There is a quiet, enduring power that comes from living with integrity, a power that radiates through even the simplest of actions. It's one thing to speak about doing what's right and another to actually follow through when nobody is watching or when the stakes feel high. Integrity is not loud or showy. It's often revealed in those small, unremarkable moments where a difficult choice is made privately, without recognition or reward. People admire this kind of character because they can sense that your decisions are not driven by convenience or fear of judgment, but by an internal compass that never wavers. They know you stand for something deeper than what might be popular in the moment, and that steadiness is incredibly rare and magnetic. When someone lives with integrity, it shapes the way they navigate every relationship. They do what they say they'll do, even if it requires extra effort or personal sacrifice. They speak honestly, even when honesty could make the conversation more difficult. They make decisions based on what aligns with their values rather than what simply benefits them most. That congruence between words and actions inspires respect because it shows that they don't need to put on a performance to appear good. They choose to be good in the quiet, everyday choices that most people never see. That kind of honesty without fanfare speaks louder than any public promise or polished image ever could. And people feel this integrity long before they can put it into words. It comes across in the way you look them in the eye, in the way you take responsibility when things go wrong, in the way you offer credit when someone else deserves it. It's visible in the choices you make when nobody is pressuring you one way or another. Even if they don't know the specifics of your principles, they recognize that you're someone who is guided by them, and that you won't easily compromise them just because it might be more comfortable or more convenient. That kind of steadfastness has a magnetic pull because it offers something stable in an unpredictable world. It reminds people that they can trust you, that your word is not just talk, and that you mean what you say. Integrity also has a way of creating a sense of safety around you. When people admire someone, they often do so because they feel seen and respected in that person's presence. That feeling grows naturally around those who live with integrity, because they don't look for shortcuts at someone else's expense. They don't let personal gain outweigh fairness or honesty. This consistency means that when you hold space for someone's fears, hopes, or mistakes, they sense they won't be manipulated or judged harshly. That kind of emotional safety is rare, and it's built one respectful, sincere interaction at a time. Over time, that's what endears people to you. They admire you not just for your character, but for the way they feel when they're around you. And integrity is deeply intertwined with humility. Living by your values doesn't mean being inflexible or self-righteous. It means knowing that you don't always have the right answer, being able to admit when you've misstepped, and being committed to learning even when it's difficult. People admire this openness because it reinforces the idea that integrity is not about perfection. It's about being honest with yourself and with others as you grow. That honesty is a powerful signal that your character is built on something deeper than your ego or need for approval. This kind of integrity is also sustained over the long term, through times of ease and times of struggle. When pressure rises or temptations appear, that's when people truly see the strength of your character. If you hold firm to your principles, even when it would be easier not to, they recognize the strength that lives beneath your choices. That is the source of real respect, knowing that your moral compass doesn't shift based on circumstance. And in a world where consistency is rare, your ability to live with integrity, quietly and persistently, is one of the most lasting and memorable qualities that someone can admire.